Hey, it's Ken with Carousel Archives. We're here with Soul Food Cypher NEXT for our Black History Month series, and I'm here today with Flash. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, I go by Flash the Philosopher as far as like the rap moniker. A lot of people call me Flash as well, just how I've been known for a lot of my life. Do I gotta tell my government too? You want me to tell my government?
You don't got
All right,
it's
so just
whatever you
Flash,
want
just
to
Flash,
do.
just Flash, y'all, just Flash, just Flash. That's
Tell me
fine.
about yourself. Where are you from?
Uh, a little bit about me. 40 next week, approaching the midlife crisis.
Okay.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Aquarius, right?
Aquarius, all the way,
Okay.
all the way. But as far as me, yeah, Jamaican born dude. Was born in St. Andrew, Jamaica, so I'm very close to just like my Jamaican roots. Um, Transported to Brooklyn. All right. So a little bit about me, like I said, yeah, Jamaican born, transported to Brooklyn, New York. Uh, Lived in Brooklyn for I want to say about maybe 12, 13 years. Then transported to Queens as well, and spent a lot of my life up until like the last few years in New York. Kind of migrated down south for opportunities and just also to take a chance on something new.
Mhm.
So that's why I find myself out here from New York. Um, as far as like other cool things about me, like is it like rap stuff or we just saying just like
Oh, I'm
general?
just like a little life intro.
Oh, so yeah, and as far as me, man, I don't even know. I feel like I'm always been like a technical kid. Like I love tech, I love innovation, I love tinkering with things, breaking things, building them back up. I'm great with my hands a lot. Always love building things. Whether we talk about if somebody gets like a little whatever you got to put together from IKEA, I'm like the first person that's like, yeah, let me put that together. Like I love doing this stuff. And even I guess with how it deals with me like professionally, I got a love for like communication. I had a or I have had a career in telecommunications, so it kind of shaped just what I love about communication and being able to do that at a high level. It's probably why I love rap and freestyling and stuff like that. It's even probably why I decided to venture out into just saying like, yo, I wanna develop, or learn how to the language of computers to a higher degree.
Hmm.
Um, so everything kind of like mixes in with me as far as just how I've grown and things I've done. New York definitely is just like a big part of my history. Whether it's growing up, I come from a long line of Jamaicans. We were the first migrants that
Hmm.
came over. As far as like my mom and her posse, and we moved to Vanderveer Projects, which is uh, I mean, it's gotten better now. They call it Flatbush Gardens now, but it's definitely what you would not want to experience as like a kid that you want to protect your innocence and grow. So a lot of my life was definitely around just like hood and street culture, and you kind of understand what comes with certain choices that you make. Unfortunately, too, sometimes you also get to see the truth of the nitty gritty of being from like a projects or being labeled like a project baby and stuff like that. Because yeah, you see like the death at an early age. You understand that people are in a hustle. You kind of understand that people have to watch their back and fear for their lives a lot of the time, and everybody's still just trying to make it to some degree or make something of their life. So yeah, big part of just my happenings and growing up and still just knowing that you're not your environment or your circumstance to a certain degree, but I'll be damned if it didn't help like either shape me or give me certain resolve as far as what I've had to develop and how I live now for the most part. So um like I said, even like my queens, like queens, we got Jr. In the cipher group, and he's always like, South Side, and it hits so home to me because like in Queens, we say like South Side, we outside because we from a certain part of Queens or whatnot too, as far as like what we represent. So you know, and I lived in like a lot of parts of Queens, honestly. I lived in Queens Village. I lived in Southside Queens. Shout out 50. Um, I lived in yeah, North Side Queens too. Springfield Gardens. That's where my mom eventually like wanted to like set her locations to, as far as New York, and we as kids can also like foster a different way to grow up or whatnot. But granted, yeah, just always been just a talker, I guess. I talk a lot. Like, can I cuss on this? I don't want to cuss on this.
I
I shouldn't
mean,
cuss on this, right? But I be talking anyway.
well, you keep it like YouTube friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nah, I be cussing. I be cussing sometimes. All right, so I'm very just like gift of gab with the mouth. I've always been a jovial type of dude. I understand just laughter is also has been like a part of my life, and I love laughter. Like I had to learn how to laugh through like hard times, good times, bad times, whatever it is. So I'm one of them dudes who just understands. I ain't saying like I'm a stoic in the sense where you just. I mean, granted, I do consider myself with stoic principles, but you get to just find the brighter side of a lot of things with life. Just depending on how you find your resolve with how you grew and whatnot. So uh, I don't know. Ask me more questions. I like questions.
Yeah.
But what you want to know about me?
Okay, well, that was a good intro. I would definitely say that it seems like culture and the places that you've lived are central to you in the ways that you've developed yourself. And also, like, because you are the kind of creative person who is creative in a tech sense, but also in a musical sense, how would you say that your upbringing, your culture has impacted, like, your creative ventures?
Mm. My culture impacts my creative ventures because I don't know. I feel like I grew up around culture, and I grew up around people who were creative, even in the sense of how you had to hustle or make something of yourself. Just being around, even I would say like Brooklyn streets. I feel like I grew up around like a lot of West Indians too. So you see everything from when you going outside, and you got the Jamaican dude Rasta, he cutting up the sugar cane and handing it to you, and they bagging up the mangoes and this, that, and the third. You got the dude who's selling his the CDs and the cassettes or whatnot. So I used to be able to walk on certain like New York Avenue or whatnot. Everybody got like a blanket, or and you walking past like all these other creatives who have made it to a certain degree, whether you're on the corner making your hustle, or I'm looking at tapes of Biggie, and it's like Ready to Die, and you got this little baby with a fro, and I'm just looking like, oh, this is dope. So I'm seeing creativity all around me. I'm seeing culture all around me, just to be honest. And how it shaped, you said how it shaped my growing?
Like your creative ventures.
So I feel like creative, I've always, I guess I've always been around like a lot of creative. My mom, she was like into drawing at one point, so that was like my foray into just, I used to draw. I used to try to be a music head. It wasn't really my thing necessarily, as far as picking up an instrument, but my mom would throw me into these places of creativity sometimes, whether it's like, all right, cool, let me try to play the drums, or let me try to play the piano. um Nobody ever threw me into like rapping or nothing like that. But when I think about being like a wordsmith, or somebody who loves to freestyle to a certain degree, that was like my biggest creative, you know, gift to myself. And like, people, they say like, oh, I used to sing in the shower. I'm just like, I used to freestyle in the shower. That was my way of getting my words off. And sometimes it was also like, damn, is this, I didn't know it was being creative at the time. It was just something that we love to do, especially you get around, young men who share the same type of creative art. And it's like, this is what we do. We be in like the backyards of the schools just rapping. And now we're not going to tell our moms we want to be like rappers, realistically and stuff like that, because they shame us. My mom was like, become a lawyer and stuff like that. She's like, you love to talk. But truly, that's not tapping into, the stuff that I may want to be, or like. But still, you kind of find your way to control your creative direction. So yeah, I've always been like big on words. Even tech is creativity to me.
Right.
The fact that we can use technology to create a business. Yeah, but I feel like yeah, even tech is creativity. Tech we can use to create a business or an opportunity for something that didn't exist before. I'm big on being black and being in tech in a sense of we are a minority in tech and we don't have a lot of representation in tech. So just to be able to create or put myself around others who want to see the blacks in a space where we weren't normally given or can't even thrive in, and it's like part of this whole wealth gap conversation. It's like, yeah, I love being a creative. I love being able to do things that also affect my community creatively. So creatively. So yeah, creativity is a big part of my life, and I plan to keep it there.
Yeah, I love what you said about tech being creative and even like you pioneering in the tech space. Do you feel like tech has kind of influenced, or have you found a way to kind of mix your love for rap and your love for tech together?
Yeah, I have. And it actually started because of soul food. Well, look, I mean, let me see. Because have I found a way to before? Um, have I found a way to mix tech and my love for rap before? I think so to a certain degree because honestly, I used to be on the internet way too much, and the internet is a wild place. So when you go on the internet, it's like I discovered like so many different pockets of hip hop. Whether we talking about you know people who are just on a forum and they want to share small recordings and you know understanding even like the programs that make the beats and stuff like that. I'm looking at these technologies that are making things possible, making connections possible, making creation possible, and knowing like, yo, there's little key elements in here to tech and how it's affecting the art to a certain degree. So, and of course, yeah, one of the projects that I'm working on for Soul Food Cypher is something that I felt lied at my heart of creativity and technology. So, and for those who don't know, like I'm trying to build something called Find Hip Hop, which is an app that is almost a sense of journalism and I guess like hip hop history. So, and granted, maybe I should have bought my laptop and I'll show you in a bit. But, right now I got an MVP, but the way how I see it growing is how do we geographically understand hip hop or rap and apply it to who these artists are, giving them their flowers, putting them in their limelight, and still being true to the culture of what rap or hip hop is. So when I think about tech and what I can do, it's like, well, this can be just one of my gifts. But I'm also like a podcaster and stuff too. I be talking crap, not YouTube friendly, but it's all good. But even then, it's like I got things that I still want to give back to the community. I got this thing called that I'm building. It's called Black Pod Plug, which is about Black podcasts and being able to showcase Black spaces where we talk to one another and bigging up those, or putting a light on those spaces for Black people who want to be able to find other podcasts from the culture and say like, oh, what are my interests and how do I, find that and putting using tech to put that in front of people, especially when maybe we don't have a lot of tech that builds for us or a lot of big companies that are backing for us. It's like we have to sometimes go out and build it ourselves. So yeah, it's one of these grassroots thing where you just got to build it from the ground up, and if as it evolves, it becomes just a modern piece of the history. So
Yeah, I think what you're building is really interesting. I really want to ask you about like the history component of it. So if I'm understanding, it's like kind of creating a locational, how would I say, like you're associating the history with the place, right?
the artist with the place, yeah, and
Uh-uh.
I guess like there would be things about history because yeah, you want to learn more about this artist. You want me to give you like a sneak peek? I don't know. It might be camera friendly, it might not, or I don't know. You
Well,
want me to
can you
like?
try to like
Okay.
explain it?
All right, so pretty much, I'm using a mapping app as you would have probably seen like Google Maps or anything like
Right.
that, and every artist would probably have a marker on the map, and you're able to zoom in based on whatever geographical place that you are on the map, and you'll see like a marker of an artist and something about that particular point that represents them, whether it's their school or where they grew up. It could be as far as like whether it's a home or a housing project. Like I was doing research even to when I was like looking for T.I., I'm seeing here like T.I. and Shorty Low had this whole beef at one point in Atlanta, and it made me have to like go into the history of understanding like, okay, well, what does it even mean to be like from Atlanta? So where these people represent? And then I found myself having to go into T.I.'s archive of videos, and he had like the what's up, what's happening, why you, and I went to the video to find out like, all right, maybe there's certain key elements I can pull out from here to figure out like where he represents and where he's from. And of course, he got a line that's and he shouts out like the two streets where his grandma's house was, and I was like, oh, that's hip hop history right here.
Right.
I get to mark that in this app to know like this is where this artist said that they represented, and this is part of history. And then you got to go to even Shorty Low, and you'd be like, oh, well, where's he representing? Oh, he from damn, don't have me mispronounce it. Bowen Homes, I believe, in Atlanta. So just to even understand like where that's at and the location of that, and geographically, this is what this artist, is repping and saying like this is where I'm from. These are my people. It's about, once again, journalism and hip hop history, just knowing like these are people from your area, and this is how you get to cultivate real points in the history just by boom, you got this, and it tells you about them, and these people are from your area, so maybe you should know more about them as far as like artistry.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think also with places like Atlanta where it's like changing very fast,
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of important to like use rap in that way to kind of like highlight where people were actually from, what was going on there before they put up all these apartment buildings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, gentrification is real.
Yeah.
It's real. Yeah.
Yeah. So. And I mean, I think especially with New York too, right? Like there's a lot going on
Yeah,
in New
I
York
mean,
with that.
you see it in New York, and yeah, areas in New York definitely do not look the same anymore. Especially like me, I spent like a good amount of my career being like even in the field as far as the cable guy at one point. And there are parts of New York that I would work in, and I've worked in all the boroughs, and I've seen all the changes, whether we're talking about certain demographics just being moved out, and you see like these were historically, black places, and there was infrastructure and money here, but then we give it up because maybe there's a different market that has more money or wants to make more changes in certain areas. So you do see the change, and you just got to understand that sometimes it is what it is. But we don't want to ignore the history and understand like who represent these places are, or where like our people were to a certain degree.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So would you say that was a big motivation and why you wanted to map out everything that way?
Yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, I feel like history is key with anything black. And at the same time, I guess it was me also trying to soul find and say like, what's something that I can do that's meaningful for me. So yeah, I guess like it was at a crossroads to feel like I know how to technically build things from scratch if I know the technologies, and and how do I apply that to black culture. I've partnered with great organizations before, and even out here, they got like Render ATL, which is like a tech conference and just movement. It's ran by this dude named Justin, and he's super influential in just me understanding how you can build things for the culture, and you just a little bit at a time, and you watch it adapt and grow, and if you believe in it and you put the man or woman power behind it, it'll become something.
Yeah. Yeah, I know about Render too.
Yeah.
That's the Black Tech
Yes,
conference.
yes, it is. Yes, they got all types of collard greens, whatever you want. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
good stuff.
Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk more about your freestyle experience specifically,
Talk about
and about Soul Food Cypher next
them.
too. So how did you discover Soul Food Cypher? How did you find yourself in Soul Food Cypher next? Like, what was that whole experience?
So I guess I'll say like as far as freestyling. Once again, it's something that I've probably been doing since like 7. It's just a art form that was it was just New York. It was something in New York to do. I used to walk by the drug dealers and the dice rollers, and they doing everything from making money, freestyling, whatever. And yeah, it's something that I would just take and say like, you know what, I'm gonna just quietly do this in my own little section, on my crib or whatnot. And I think it became something I did more in private. So it was never really a community based aspect. Maybe in like high school to even junior high school, I would do it with a few dudes, but never like publicly. It was never something that I was ever about like doing it in front of a larger crowd or in front of people to for the art itself. It was we just felt like we were doing something that we liked. Um, so as far as like how freestyle applied to me, even in the larger picture, I love creativity. I love words. I've always tried to excel at anything that was about language and whether it was English or understanding patois and just loving language. And so when I freestyle, I feel like this is my greatest foray into creation. And I'm one of these dudes where it's like, all right, you got all of this AI stuff and people that we're losing what creativity can really be sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at freestyle to the larger picture, it's like, oh, we get to show like there are things that you just can't, imitate. There are things that are very just real to the culture, and it don't matter how much AI you have, it's not gonna seem as real as this. So that's where a lot of my love lies with freestyling, because it's irreplaceable. It's one of one. And even when you think like you're gonna do the same thing over, it's like no, there's no such thing as doing this thing twice. It will only live in this space once and only. And after that, you do your thing and kiss it goodbye. Um, so yeah, and I felt like I love the ephemeral nature of it. I love that it doesn't need to exist in any one particular box, and the expression that it gives. I can once again I love words, so I feel like people should get the opportunity to express that. And I've been a fan of even like poetry and stuff. I used to do like slam poetry through college, and we put on like shows, and I was like, all right, cool. Words are very powerful. I did plays when I was a kid too, and then also I was into storytelling. So part of my life has always been around words and creativity and how you can use the word to gain emotion out of whoever. Granted, I took a big break in terms of being a creative or wanting to be a creative, just due to life and everything. So tying it back into soul food was one of those things where I felt like I was looking to find back a community of creatives. And in my mind, I'm sitting here like, there's got to be a bigger group or people who love this as much as I do, in the sense of being creative, being bold, being yourself, using your words as gifts to an art. Because I'm sitting here like I'm never going to be Picasso. I'm not going to be a painter. I'm not going to be a Basquiat. That's not my role. Maybe if I want to, maybe it could be,
You
right,
could.
right. But I decided to adapt to something that I do feel strongly on, and I'm like, you know what? How long have I been doing this? So if I can do this, and then I'm seeing things like even the Lyricist Lounge show and stuff, which made me say like, oh, like people really love this art, and they're making it so mainstream to a certain degree. And it's like, no, when you do it for the love of the art, you don't need another reason. So, that's the reason why SFC found me, and I found him through like Reddit or something. I think I was online because I'm seeing here like, where are my people? And somebody on Reddit was like, you should go to Soul Food Cypher. So, shout out Reddit.
Not shout out Reddit.
Yeah, but no, but it allowed me like I use community to find community to a certain degree,
Right.
right?
Well, and that's so funny because that's like you were talking about the internet and how big the internet is with tech in general. It's like you had your tech community and then it led you to the rap community that you have now. So it
Yeah.
all is like full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, in a small power, like I'm glad I'm here because it's allowed me to kind of expand my voice or even just my artistry as far as the things that I love to do. And for me, it ain't even like a do you got to make money from this and this and the third. No,
Right.
the art gives back to me because it's something that I enjoy making. So I'm just grateful to just have a space to do that with other creatives, other people who want to, just flex that muscle and yeah, just do what you love. So yeah.
How would you say that like being in Soul Food Cypher Next has helped you develop as a freestyle artist?
Ooh, I get to realize like there are, and maybe there's something like that D-Real said, but it's like there are everybody's so unique. Whether we talk about personality, style, you know, and once you realize that everybody's unique, you also understand more about like, well, what makes your style or whatever you're doing unique. So you get to tap into that more because when you do certain things, I want to say like in a closed off space, you don't get to breathe or I guess when you do it like, in a silo, it's great, but then art calls for being inspired by other art. Whether that means that I get to look at how somebody did something different than me and then apply that in my own way because all artists do it. And I ain't saying like stealing artists, right? But being inspired, that's a great thing. So when I see other SFC MCs or even SFC Next and I get to get into either their creative process or understanding of them and who they are and seeing how they do their art, it inspires me because I'm still also creating, right? I'm still tweaking and finding ways to do new things. So seeing somebody else do their thing and they do it their own way, which is completely different from mine, it it makes me say, let me tap more into my bag and figure out more of myself because it is a discovery thing. It is a who am I and why do I do this type of thing? And watching somebody else go through that is like, yeah, let me pour more into me too. So just to affect a community and being around different characters and seeing what they bring, to the art, it inspires me.
Yeah. Would you say that like you ever feel challenged by other people? Like more in a sense of like, oh, they really went crazy. Like, let me try to match that. You know what I mean? Or like you feel that push?
Uh, huh. Yeah, I feel like with any art form, all we can ever ask is that you come out and give your best or do your best, you know. And days differ, so I'm gonna have really good days, and then I'm gonna have days where it's just like, damn, I could do better. And either way, I'm not gonna really care about it because it's in the past. But yeah, I love being pushed by other artists because sometimes I don't always think of myself as like a performer or artist. To me, it's just I get to kick it with people and spit words. Um, when I see certain people take it more serious, it does allow me to understand there are levels to certain things with anything, and it doesn't mean that I need to be the top tier, bottom tier, but it's also like, did you find your peak? Are you peaking? Like, did you find your next level of doing something because you enjoy doing it? So even when I watch performers do certain things at a high level, I think of the work ethic that has to go into what I do and freestyling. So yeah, it's something that I do like pretty much every day. Why do I do it? It's because it's a skill like any other. Skills, they're like muscles. You work them out, they do something. So yeah, watching when I see the effect that people have when they get to perform that skill, it makes me just understand like they've been in the lab, they've been working. So it does push me to say like, all right, go get your reps in. I still got work to because I never thought you could do something like that. So I just get to practicing and it pushes me.
Yeah. What is your mode of practicing? Like, what do you usually
Crazy.
do to get in your zone?
Talk to myself all the time. But it's a lot of things, honestly. Everything from and you know they and like I said, I go by the moniker Flash the philosopher because maybe it does key into like the things that make me go into that mode because I'm big on like reading, I'm big on history, I'm big on black stuff, and I sprinkle that, and I'm big, I'm still a hood dude. Unfortunately sometimes, so I do have my ways, you know, but I sprinkle a lot of that into everything I do as far as like freestyling. So um because yeah, it don't have to look one way, you know. My so when I'm reading or I'm just trying to understand certain things at a lower level, even my relationships or whatnot, these women that do me bad out here, Ken, like I'm putting them in my freestyle. Like, ooh, you know. But art inspires life, right? So I'm big on using a lot of things in my life to inspire my creativity because yeah, that's the best energy for me, and I like being in that energy. So, and it comes off more truer to me when I get to you know bring the things that I'm doing in real life to the art. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love how you said that like art inspires life, but then at the same time, your life is inspiring your art too. So it's like,
Yeah, recursion.
hmm
Yeah. Yo, come in, come in.
Can you talk about like this? Do you ever find yourself in that cycle where it's like art and life inspiring each other, and then it's like a like circle of like constantly creating?
You're supposed to, in my opinion, yeah, because how am I supposed to rap about like fast cars if I never been in one? How am I supposed to rap about love if I never tried to love? How am I supposed to rap about pain if I ain't like sit with that problem long enough? So yeah, I feel like put your I gotta drag from me. You know what I'm saying? So to put my anything that happens in my life into word form and then still know like I get to live still. I still have some life, right? So I get to still have more experiences. And then I still get to put that back into work. Yeah, like that's like the best part of it because when I think about just rap and how people put history in rap, you know, whether we talking about like beef or atrocities in black communities and whatnot, you gotta look into it and realize like, well, there's truth to that, or like there's a reason why they said that. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you just either see a different perspective, you know, hear something that you never heard put a certain way before, and it gives you a certain experience, or it makes you even say like, yo, that relates to me, you know. So yeah, my life and my experiences and how I get to be able to put that into, you know, rap as an art form. It's definitely like I don't call it a vicious cycle, but it's a cycle that I enjoy because who else gonna tell my story but me, you know? So
That's a word.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like with the way that you talk about like your life, the way you grew up, your creative process, I feel like I can visualize it as you're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I would love for you to kind of go into that about like being a storyteller, like freestyling, even the way you talk. I feel like you are a really good storyteller.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, I'm a great storyteller, and like I don't know what it is, but I think it's probably you know when I was younger, I used to do these storytelling competitions, and I used to have to memorize like a short story or African folklore, and I would have to get in front of all these people and recreate this story for them that they've probably never heard and still be able to embody the different characters like Anansi and all of that other stuff. Like I was deep into like African folklore. And I remember I was doing this one about like Anansi and the sky god. And, you know, I realized that, yeah, stories invoke emotions out of people, but then you also are telling something. And if you want something to sit with somebody like a long time, you got to tell it in a certain way. So to me, storytelling is a lot of it's where a lot of history comes from. It's you know we speak about like griots and all that other stuff. we get to tell stories with words, and I've understood the power of that. And maybe I'm just like way too talkative sometimes too, because I just like, if you put me in the right environment around the people who I find comfort with, I don't shut up, and I tell stories.
Yeah.
And I don't care about embarrassing myself, because these are my stories once again. So yeah, stories have always sat at the heart of a lot of what I do, because it's through other people's stories, whether I'm reading biographies or whatnot, that I get to just learn things sometimes. So part of me, I try to give like everything. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, or whatever the case is. A story's a story, and it's gonna invoke an emotion if you know how to tell it right. If you know the words to, even the tools to put together that story well for you. So yeah, I've always been just like big on storytelling. It's like my imagination is wild sometimes, because it could, like, you could tell a chick could probably break my heart. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make it the biggest story ever. I'm gonna tell you what she did. I'm gonna tell you, like, it was terrible. She stopped in my heart this year, and it's like, because I want you to understand like where my energy and my feelings are at. So yeah, I make sure like I have a lot of tools to be able to tell stories properly, and part of that is for me like why I study language. So I'm able to put, you know whatever elements of language into what I do. I think that's like a powerful part of it. So
I think that it's really nice that you say all of this about storytelling, because that's so similar to what I'm doing too with Cowracial Archives, like being able to document all of those stories and kind of like allow people to like share their story for themselves. And so like seeing you being able to do that through so many different creative forms is like very empowering. Like you found your way to like really express yourself.
Yeah, it's yeah, I like that. It's part of my life. I'm very I express myself too much of the time. Once again, I talk a lot of stuff on the podcast. Stuff I shouldn't be. I'd be ashamed. I'd be like, damn, I shouldn't have told that story. But once again, it's my story. It's my life, and yeah, storytelling. Like, maybe I don't get to write a biography, but maybe somebody will get to look at the things that I've put on video or whatever as a part of my biography, or part of like, oh, this is the story. These are parts of his life that he got to share with us, good or bad. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, with all the stories that you share on your podcast, you have one, like, you don't have to tell the whole story again, but just like a little blurb of like one story that you felt like you were like very happy to share that got good feedback, or maybe one that like was kind of embarrassing that you were like, why did I say that?
My podcast is raunchy sometimes, but no, what's wild though? I do. I don't know if this is for like your platform or not, but I do tell about the safeties of not drinking from other people. Okay, yeah, your boy Flash, he was drugged one time by white folk, and you try to listen to your mom, and your mom says don't drink from other people, And we used to go to this joint called Summer Jam in New York. It's a music festival. And the one year I decided to trust white folk. They betrayed me. And maybe I should have thought something was off, because they were doing like shots with the cake. They were holding this man's ankles in the air, and I'm just like, oh. And then they had like an octopus
you were
machine.
like, yeah, brother.
Yeah, like I was cool. I was like, and it wasn't my fault. Somebody introduced us to them, but we didn't know these people anyway. Still shouldn't have trusted them. But yeah, come to find out, they had this octopus machine, and they put what we thought was beer in it. And I was supposed to enjoy this concert, and I'm walking into the concert, I'm thinking everything is cool, and then I black out. I don't know what happened after that. And then I wake up like probably like 4 hours later in my seat at the concert, and Weezy F Baby on the stage, and he performing. It's nighttime already. I went to this it was in the daytime setting, and I heard people around me cheering, and I was like, yeah, I got up with the energy. I was like, yeah, Weezy's on stage. And I'm trying to make sure, I'm like, where was I, for the past few hours? And come to find out, nah, they cheering because I woke up. Because apparently I was like gone to a certain degree. Never knew anything was wrong with it. But I say that to say, one of my homies who came with us to the Summer Jam joint, we couldn't find him at the end of the concert. And, I'm driving around, I'm asking people, have you seen like a, tall black guy with dreads, Can't find this dude. I'm thinking of all the ways I got to go home and tell this man's mom, like, I can't find your son. Like, he could have been wherever. He comes back into we live together at this point. He's my roommate. He comes home, and I'm just like, yo, where were you? Like the next day, like sometime in the afternoon, and he comes back. He's like, yo, I was in the hospital. We didn't know what happened, but we was glad he got home. And then when we got the toxicology report back, come to find out, he had ketamine in his system. Okay, so when I think about the fact that I trusted the white people to drink with, and they snuck ketamine in whatever we was having, terrible experience. I don't recommend it to anybody. But yeah, I get into my life and my stories and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah. So watch who you when they say watch who you drink from, watch who you drink from. I mean that I'm your experienced teacher. Okay. So yeah, but
I'll remember
good and
that.
bad, good and bad. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I don't even know what to say after that. I'm like, that was a story.
Don't leave us on special K. Give me something else.
Like, that's a bit much.
Yes.
But to bring it all back with how storytelling and your experiences tie into the way you rap, I feel like, first of all, if those are the kind of stories you have, I see how you always have material, because that was a lot. So that was a little bit much. But I think that, like, being able to see that you have lived a full life, and then that creates like a very full presence,
of course,
and like very full art, like it kind of makes sense how you've been able to kind of create a little space for yourself in Soul Food Cypher Next. So.
Yeah, and it's a great experience. Like I said, I urge anyone who's ever had like any inkling of, I just want to speak what's on my mind, but I also love rap and bars and this, that, and the third. It's a freeing feeling just to be able to, just put words into air, and you don't have to worry about where they go, whatnot. But it's like, did you get off what you needed to get off? Did you express what you needed to express? And yeah, I'm forever joyful for the art, and I'll do this till I'll be in the nursing home doing this joint. I'll find me my crew. Trust me. Yeah.
And that means you really love it.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that. Well, tell the people where to find you.
If you want to go like see my raunchy stuff, my real life. All right, but I'm on IG. I'm Flash_the_philosopher. That's me. You'll find me. I mean, I do stuff, I guess, but I'm here. Like, I'm living.
Thank you so much for your time.
Ashe.
Thank you.
Yeah.